I never expected temptation to walk into my life so brazenly, yet the moment Claire pressed her hand against mine, I knew something irreversible had begun. She was my closest friend's wife, a woman I'd admired quietly from a distance, admiring her elegance, her wit, her strange way of filling every room with electricity. Until that night, I convinced myself admiration was harmless, that longing was only an idle fantasy I'd never dare voice. But fantasies have claws, and hers dug deeper each time her smile lingered too long on me. It started innocently, or so I told myself. Dinners where our spouses laughed over wine, children playing in the next room while Claire's gaze locked onto mine across the table. Those glances carried weight, unspoken messages written in heat and secrecy. I felt them sear my chest, and every time her husband laughed without suspicion, guilt churned beneath my skin. Yet I didn't look away. I couldn't. One evening, while her husband excused himself to take a phone call, she leaned toward me. Her perfume was intoxicating, a heady mixture of jasmine and smoke. "You think too much," she whispered, lips brushing the rim of her glass. "Maybe you should stop fighting what's already happening." My heart hammered. I wanted to believe she was teasing, but her eyes betrayed her hunger. That hunger mirrored mine. I went home restless that night, my wife asleep beside me, breathing softly, trusting completely. That trust felt heavy, suffocating even, but Claire's voice echoed in my mind. "Stop fighting." By dawn, I wasn't sure whether I feared her words or craved them. The following week, she found excuses to visit me alone. Dropping off a forgotten jacket, asking for help with some trivial task, inventing reasons that barely held weight. Every time, her presence lingered like smoke, filling my lungs, leaving me dizzy. She was the serpent whispering forbidden promises, and I, weak, foolish, was already tasting the apple. I knew I should run, cut ties, distance myself before something irreversible happened. Yet the thrill of secrecy lit fires in me I hadn't felt in years. My marriage had grown quiet, routine, a life of predictability that once comforted me but now felt like a slow suffocation. Claire's every glance, every brush of her fingers against mine, jolted me alive again. One afternoon, she trapped me completely. Her son had forgotten a book at school, and her husband was away on business. She arrived at my door, rain dripping down her hair, her blouse clinging to her body. She didn't ask to come in, she walked past me, wet shoes staining the floor, leaving me trembling at her audacity. "I'm tired of pretending," she murmured, stepping closer, water dripping from her lashes. "Aren't you?" That question shattered the last barrier. My answer wasn't spoken. It was felt, in the way I pulled her against me, in the way her lips claimed mine like they had waited centuries. In that moment, reason drowned beneath desire. After that first kiss, there was no returning to innocence. Claire and I became conspirators in silence, weaving a tapestry of deception with every stolen moment. What frightened me most was how quickly guilt transformed into addiction. One touch wasn't enough, one meeting never satisfied. Like fire feeding itself, our hunger demanded more. We crafted lies as carefully as lovers craft promises. I told my wife I was working late, that projects needed me past midnight. Claire invented errands, social clubs, errands that multiplied suspiciously. Each excuse etched another crack into the lives of those who trusted us most. But neither of us cared. Lust had intoxicated us, and we drank deeper each day. The first time she stayed in my arms until sunrise, I studied the way the morning light spilled across her bare skin. She laughed softly, whispering, "Do you feel alive now?" And yes, I did. My pulse raced, my body burned, my heart pounded like I'd been resurrected after years of numbness. Yet beneath that fire, a quiet dread coiled, reminding me of what I risked. Her husband remained blissfully unaware, still calling me his brother in friendship, still leaving his family in my company. That trust cut sharper than any blade. When I watched his son hand me a drawing, smiling with the innocence only children possess, I felt something sour crawl inside me. The boy's affection should have filled me with joy, but instead it reminded me of the shadow I was becoming. Claire, however, dismissed such thoughts. "They'll never know," she assured me, fingers tracing my chest like she could erase my doubts with touch. "You think too much. Don't ruin this with guilt." But her words themselves were a toxin. Every reassurance felt like venom, numbing my conscience while feeding my craving. The more I listened, the weaker my resistance grew. I began to believe her lies as fiercely as I believed my own. The danger only heightened the thrill. Meeting in hotel rooms under false names, clutching each other in parked cars at night, exchanging glances in crowded rooms while our spouses sat unaware. Every second felt like a gamble, a breath away from discovery. I told myself that the risk proved the strength of what we shared, that ordinary love never burned this brightly. In truth, it was poison dripping slowly into everything I once valued. At home, I became distant, distracted. My wife noticed, though she didn't voice her suspicions. She asked if I was tired, if work was overwhelming me. I lied with practiced ease, kissing her forehead, promising nothing was wrong. Inside, I felt the rot spreading, yet I couldn't stop feeding it. Claire reveled in the secrecy. "They wouldn't understand us," she murmured once, lying tangled in sheets, her hair wild, her eyes blazing. "But we understand each other. That's all that matters." I wanted to believe her. I told myself love justified betrayal, that desire excused destruction. But deep down, I knew we were weaving a noose out of passion, tightening it with every lie we told. Still, when she touched me, none of that mattered. The poison was sweet, irresistible, and I drank it willingly. The longer our affair continued, the more fragile everything around us became. Lies stacked upon lies, forming a tower that trembled under its own weight. I told myself I could control it, that I could balance both lives. Husband, father, friend by day, lover by night. But control was an illusion, and illusions always shatter. It began with my wife's eyes. She didn't accuse me, not directly, but suspicion lingered there when she asked simple questions. "Why so many late nights? Why is your shirt buttoned wrong?" I brushed her concerns aside, kissing her, laughing, pretending nothing was amiss. Yet her gaze followed me, sharp and searching, like she was waiting for me to admit a truth I'd never dare. Claire's husband, meanwhile, remained oblivious. He trusted me too much, leaned on me like family, even invited me to spend weekends at their home. The irony nearly drove me mad. Sitting across from him at dinner, I felt every bite of food turn bitter. His kindness was a mirror reflecting my corruption. Still, Claire thrived in the charade. She had a gift for deception. Her laugh rang genuine, her gestures natural, her eyes filled with practiced warmth. No one questioned her. To outsiders, she was the perfect wife, the perfect mother. But when we were alone, the mask slipped, revealing a hunger that devoured everything in its path. "Don't let guilt ruin this," she said one night, lying sprawled across the bed, sheets tangled around her like conquered territory. "They wouldn't give you what I do. They don't make you feel alive." Her words echoed, sinking into me like a slow poison. She was right, or at least I wanted her to be. My wife offered stability, safety, a quiet love that had dulled over the years. Claire offered fire, chaos, a taste of danger that left me craving more. Each time I questioned us, she silenced me with lips, with touch, with promises that blurred the line between love and manipulation. But the poison spread beyond us. Her son began to notice the tension, the way his mother disappeared for hours, the way I flinched under his innocent gaze. Once, he asked me if I was angry at him. The question nearly broke me. Children sense what adults refuse to see, and in his small voice, I heard the echo of every wrong choice I'd made. At home, silence grew between my wife and me. We spoke less, touched less, existing beside each other like strangers. She didn't confront me, but her quietness screamed louder than any accusation. I knew she was slipping away, and part of me grieved. Yet even that grief wasn't strong enough to keep me from Claire's arms. We were too far gone. Every meeting pulled us deeper, every secret wove tighter chains. I told myself we were careful, but in truth, we were reckless. Passion made us blind, and blindness made us bold. And boldness always carries a cost. Secrets never stay buried forever. They fester, leaking through cracks, infecting everything around them. By the time autumn came, I could feel the weight of our deception pressing harder, suffocating me. My wife's silence grew colder, her smile more brittle. Claire's husband had started to watch her more closely, his easy trust replaced with subtle unease. Even her son seemed restless, his laughter less frequent, as though the home itself had absorbed the tension we created. And still, I went back to her. She had a way of making me forget the storm outside. When her hands were on me, when her lips pressed against my neck, the world dissolved into heat and shadows. But when the haze faded, reality returned sharper than ever. My phone buzzing with unanswered messages. My wife's weary eyes searching mine. My conscience gnawing at me in the dead of night. One evening, Claire confessed something that chilled me. "They don't deserve us," she whispered, curled against me in a dimly lit hotel room. "They'll only hold us back. We're better than them. Don't you see?" Her tone wasn't playful this time. It was serious, almost dangerous. I tried to laugh it off, but her gaze pinned me in place, fierce and unwavering. "I'm not saying we hurt them," she continued, "but we need to stop living for them. They're chains, and chains are meant to be broken." Her words unsettled me. It wasn't just lust anymore. It was possession, obsession, a hunger that wanted not only my body but my entire life. She wasn't content with stolen hours. She wanted everything. And I, weak, foolish, was already in too deep. The poison worked quietly at first, making me doubt my marriage, my friendships, even myself. I started to believe her whispers, convincing myself I deserved more than routine, more than safety. I told myself love was worth destruction. But late at night, lying beside my unsuspecting wife, I felt the venom burn. One night, after another heated encounter, I told Claire I needed space. "We can't keep doing this," I said, my voice trembling. "We're hurting too many people." Her expression hardened. For the first time, I saw something sharp in her eyes, something predatory. She smiled faintly, but it wasn't warmth, it was warning. "Don't pretend you don't want me," she said softly. "You can't go back. You need me. And if you walk away, everything will fall apart." I realized then that she wasn't only dangerous to my marriage. She was dangerous to me. Her love wasn't gentle, it was a knife disguised as a kiss. Yet despite that truth, I stayed. The poison had already bound me too tightly. The more I tried to pull away, the deeper she dug her claws. And somewhere in the shadows, our families felt the tremors, unaware that the earthquake had already begun. The walls of secrecy were caving in. Every step I took felt like walking across cracked glass, each creak threatening to expose us. My wife no longer bothered hiding her suspicions. She didn't ask where I'd been, she already knew I would lie. Her silence was heavier than any accusation, and her eyes, once gentle, now studied me with quiet devastation. Claire's husband had changed too. He spoke less, watched more, suspicion lingering in every glance when we were in the same room. He asked me odd questions. "You've been busy lately, haven't you?" Delivered with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I felt hunted, though no words of accusation were spoken. The boy was the cruelest reminder of all. He clung to me when I visited, asking if I'd play, if I'd stay longer. His innocence struck like a dagger, reminding me of everything I was corrupting. Each time, I wanted to tell him I couldn't, that I shouldn't even be there. But Claire would tighten her grip on my arm, her smile painted, her voice sweet as sugar. "Of course he'll stay." And so I stayed. But inside, I was unraveling. Nights with Claire no longer burned with the same reckless fire. They left me hollow, drained, drowning in a guilt I couldn't escape. I told her once, "We're destroying too much." She pressed a finger to my lips and whispered, "No, they're destroying us. We're just saving each other." It frightened me. The conviction in her tone, the way she twisted blame like it was nothing. Claire wasn't simply my lover anymore. She was my captor, binding me with threats disguised as devotion. "If you walk away," she murmured one evening, her nails raking down my chest, "I'll tell them everything. I'll ruin you. You think you can go back, but you can't." The poison had revealed its true form. It was no longer sweet. It was venom, and it pulsed through every vein of my life. At home, I barely recognized myself. My wife asked me directly one night, "Is there someone else?" Her voice broke as she spoke, though her eyes held steady. I opened my mouth to lie, but no sound came. Instead, I looked away, and that silence told her everything. She cried quietly, not screaming, not accusing, just breaking. That sound haunted me worse than anything Claire ever whispered. Yet even after that, I returned to Claire. The pull was unbearable, a mixture of fear and desire. She fed me promises of a future only we could have, painting images of escape, of freedom, of passion without chains. But I knew they were illusions. Every word she spoke tasted like poison. Still, I swallowed it. Because by then, I wasn't living for truth or honor or family anymore. I was living for survival, and she had convinced me survival meant staying under her spell. The reflection I once recognized was gone. In its place stood a stranger, bound to a woman who had turned love into a weapon. And that weapon was aimed at everything I once held dear. The end didn't arrive with a scream. It arrived in silence, the kind that settles before a storm shatters everything. It was a Sunday evening when everything collapsed. My wife confronted me again, this time with evidence. Messages she had found, fragments of conversations too intimate to deny. She didn't yell. She didn't throw anything. She simply looked at me, eyes hollow, and asked, "How long?" The truth spilled out before I could stop it. Months. Lies. Meetings. Her friend's wife. Every confession felt like shards tearing my throat. My wife listened without expression, though her hands trembled. When I finally fell silent, she whispered, "You've poisoned this family." And then she walked away. Her words clung to me. Poison. She was right. I had poisoned everything, trust, love, innocence, until nothing pure remained. But the worst was still to come. Claire's husband discovered us days later. I don't know how, whether it was suspicion confirmed or carelessness on our part. He didn't confront me directly. Instead, I heard from Claire. She stormed into my apartment, eyes blazing, saying, "He knows. He wants to leave me. He wants to take our son." Panic clawed at me. "Then it's over," I said, desperate, exhausted. "We've ruined everything already. Let it end before it gets worse." But Claire's expression turned cold, almost unrecognizable. "No," she said firmly. "He won't take what's mine. And you won't walk away. You need me." Her certainty terrified me more than her husband's anger, more than my wife's heartbreak. In that moment, I saw Claire for what she truly was. Not a lover, not a savior, but a toxin disguised as passion. She hadn't simply poisoned her family. She had poisoned me too. I tried to break free after that night. I ignored her calls, her visits, her messages. I thought distance could cleanse me, that if I severed ties, maybe I could salvage the wreckage of my life. But Claire wasn't finished. She left letters at my door, messages laced with threats and promises. She whispered to mutual friends, twisting stories, painting me as the villain, herself as the wounded one. The poison spread into the community, staining every connection I had left. Meanwhile, my wife moved further away from me, emotionally, physically, until she was gone entirely. Our home became a shell. My son avoided me, sensing the fracture too deep to mend. Claire had been right about one thing: I couldn't go back. The past was dead. And what remained? Loneliness, regret, memories sharp as knives. Every touch I had once craved now burned like acid in my mind. Claire's laughter haunted me, not because I missed it, but because it reminded me of the weakness that destroyed everything. The poison hadn't just killed trust. It had hollowed me out, left me wandering through the ruins of choices I once mistook for love. Now, when I look back, I realize the cruelest truth. The poison wasn't Claire alone. It was me. I drank it willingly. And I destroyed us all,